Who do you think is most excited about your win tonight?
My boyfriend?
Yes.
I mean, I'm very excited, of course, but I'm also, it's not quite real yet.
I did not expect this at all. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Who won?
It's nice to see multiple people being seen for their work, so I love it.
I'm so excited for more than one reason. The fact that we are all queer humans, one, makes me the most happy in my, can I say effing? I'll just say effing and not the word, in my effing life. I love Netta and another beautiful Black queen, so I'm honored.
Lucky. It's Brianna and August. They're both incredible people, so I feel really, really happy and lucky.
Oh, my partner. Yeah, we've been together for 20 years now. This is our 20th year together, and I mean, he's always my biggest fan.
My dad. Yeah, definitely my dad. He's like the type of person, just good and bad. Like, even if I'm going on any audition, he's like, you got it. You got it. I'm like, don't say that, Dad.
The cast of the show.
Yeah.
I mean, we were really tight. Oh God, 6 weeks of rehearsal. We were doing boxing drills for an hour at every rehearsal, and so there was a lot of bonding through all of that.
I think my daughter. And during the time when we were rehearsing, I was going through a very, very difficult time, and she's always told me that I was her best friend, and it took a while for me to really absorb that. As a mother, she has taught me how to be a friend and to be a mother, and those lines don't get crossed. She knows that when it's time for me to be a mother, I'm your mother, and that's not gonna ever change. But I'm also your friend, and she's also my friend. She's like my BFF.
I mean, it was incredible. Wardell had such like an amazing vision for the piece, but he gave Sam and I the freedom to like really play, and we had so much time, so much rehearsal process that we got to literally try so many different things, and things that didn't work, we just put them to the side and just kept exploring these characters, and we had so much time with them that Sam and I really got to like really embody these characters and really give our truths to them.
I think being friends is something that is first a big thing, because you definitely have to trust people in order to, I think, feel safe and have a safe space in that. And I think we kind of just communicated on the story itself and what story we wanted to tell, and then got to know each other as individuals. And I think just doing that and being around each other so much, as actors normally are during a show, you have no choice but to bond. We just so happen to like each other as humans as well, so that kind of helped. Yeah.
I did a lot of research of specifically the time and place of like really looking at Harlem 1992, looking at the real thing and just trying as best we could to replicate that exactly as I saw it.
There's a lot of shows that I'm in, I also choreograph, which is cool because I like being able to see it and because it helps me be closer to the cast, because I'm a person who creates with the company, and so by having them being in it with them, I know what's good for them and looks on them, opposed to just like being in the house and just looking at something and just teaching.
Because musicals are never done. You just eventually stop. Yeah.
Literally, Alex mentioned rewriting something today when we were sitting in the audience.
Seriously. The cast did a part, and I was like, you know what? We're cutting those like 16 bars. Yeah. It never stops.
The boxing was essential. I mean, I started training 6 months ahead. I lost 60 pounds, and going to the gym twice a day for like 3 hours a day, it puts you in the mindset of who this guy is. By the time we got started, I felt like I was him.
I think we learned the rhythm of talking over each other.
Yes, definitely.
Yep. There was a point at which it was just like noise, and then there was a point at which it was like a patter that was, I think, intelligible.
And Spencer was like, you have to keep talking. Oh, while they're talking, like a real conversation, like real people do.
Yeah.
But it took me about 3 to 4 weeks.
There was continued conversations and new pages would come in. So it was really cool to be able to really talk about certain people's life experiences and really actively then implement them. And I think we were seeing changes like essentially up through previews almost for that type of thing. So it was really cool to just watch the play go from one point to the end point.
We had a workshop about 6 months prior to rehearsal, and we didn't know if it was going to work. And it was an honest idea that we didn't know it was going to, and it actually did work. It was difficult, it was stretching me beyond any type of boundaries that I had ever been presented with, but also very rewarding because I was able to stretch and grow as a musician as well as the other musicians.
What important story do you think is being told in the show that you're being recognized for this evening?
Recognizing that there's humanity in someone who's been through a lot of trauma going to reconcile with someone who caused that trauma for them, which is not exactly something people ever want to look at. You know
how Black women sometimes take on all of the pain within a family and still are able to survive in a way that is so magnificent.
There are times when people go through dark patches in their life. It gives people this opportunity to understand that no matter how dark the hole is, there always is an opportunity for light, for hope.
We are able to realize and notice within ourselves that our mistakes are our mistakes, but that those mistakes don't define us, and we can move on and we can become the people that we've always wanted to be.
It's a story about family and like particularly a father-son relationship where the father is trying to control his son, but his son wants to be his own person. There are many things about that story that are very important that aren't usually seen and told in such a beautiful way through Lillian's direction that those are the lessons that really like pop out from that show.
I think it's important that we're seeing a woman's story. I think it's from start to finish. I think it's important that we're seeing a woman who had life happen to her, and then she continued to persevere despite just the worst things in life. So I feel like it's relevant now to say that we keep going.
It's a really lovely story, and I think if there's a lovely story to be told that tells something about the human condition, then yeah, I think that resonates with people.
There's a lot of stories that are out there that you see a lot. You know, I love Hamilton. There's been a few things about the American Revolution, you know, but this like fundamental change in American history and the way it was covered up by the powers that be in Chicago, who are still the powers that be in Chicago,
and it's been covered up throughout time, not just at the time, but still being
absolutely.
We finally got to hear what it's like for an average American soldier, because it's the story of the majority of people who, you know, sacrifice for our country.
What life is like in incarcerations is important for people because we all know about the history of the United States, but sometimes when we see it and we see what happens because of the incarceration rate, and for us to see it, to hear it in its rawness so that the impact can be felt.
This idea of using us up, a corporate system or what have you, using us up, spitting us out when we're no longer useful, and what happens to that person.
Really, it's a story about class and about struggle, and one of the main songs, Some Have Not, is a big representation of that, right? Like some people have these things and some people don't have these things, and a lot of it has to do with how you were born, who you were born, to whom you were born, you know? And so I think that's a really fine representation of that.
So many important stories, and I think most importantly the story of diversity and where we all fit in America. And the irony is not lost on me that I'm a white male sitting here today in a show that talks so much about diversity. So it was really an honor to be a part of that.
Racial issues that are definitely embedded in communities and embedded in a lot of stereotypes about especially young Black men. And what was so unique about this is literally just two characters meet on a train, and already like an audience has an idea of like who this young Black man is. So it's nice to tell his story and go on his journey and show that who he really is.
This play takes really unlikable folks and makes you really care for them and care about them. And in the theater, empathy is so heightened because you're sitting in the room with them. You can't look away. And this play created such empathy for all four of these characters that were the kind of people that we normally don't think about or care about, and we grew to love them. And that's like what the best art does.
What is your favorite thing about making theater in Chicago?
Theater in Chicago is very real. It's just to create these new worlds in these little spaces. It's just fantastic.
We're not afraid to really go there, and we're very welcoming to artists, and the community is just so supportive and beautiful, and like it's something you want to be a part of.
Since I have been in Chicago, I have grown more as a person and had some like interesting life experiences on stage and off that have helped with on stage work.
Supportive community and so brilliant.
All the stories that have been like shared with me and told, and all the the beautiful art that we've been able to create together has been incredible.
The people, just the entire community in of itself is just, it's a community of artists that I love, and it's always very exciting new theater that is being produced.
I love telling stories. I love getting that kernel of the excitement that we find in storytelling in these scripts, and figuring out how to make that and how to inspire audiences and make them feel something and love art.
There are some really new and interesting stories being told. I think people are taking really major risks that really aren't that risky to us in this day and age, but in the world of theater, they're new and risky. And I just think it's really important, the work we're doing here. I think Chicago makes you a better actor. And so it's my favorite thing about Chicago theater is it makes you work harder, and it because the houses are so small, it forces you to not be fake. You have to for real do the actings, and it's so important.
They're really wonderful. Storefront theater is great. The audiences are so in your face and so welcoming, and they want to see what you have to say.
In Chicago theater, anything is possible, and people take you seriously, and people will believe in you if your work is good, no matter who you are, no matter where you come from.
The hustle, right? I think it's a really great community, and I know, especially in technical theater, when there's not a lot of money, sometimes things break down, and I always know that in Chicago, if there's an emergency, I can call 20 different friends, and they can come and support me and help me.
It's all about the ensemble and the team and raising up other people. There aren't a lot of plays or stories that are about one person or about stardom.
I get to hear some of the best people in a city of 8 million people sing and perform, and it's just so inspiring.
And stumbling into situations like this, like I said in my speech, there have been a couple of shows where I could do that show forever. And this is the third show I've had like that over, 6 or 7 years. And it's so rare and it's so spectacularly great.
Enjoy tonight, because we understand this journey. We understand the sacrifices. It's hard, and I think that this night is very magical. We're celebrating our work, we're celebrating creativity, we're celebrating diversity, we're celebrating so many different things, and it's important for us to relish in this moment where we empower each other. We know the struggle, we know the sacrifices, and we know the passion for creating work that changes lives.